I can see you. I can see you. There we go, right here. All right. So the first question, the first question that I have for you, right? This is a
Mhm.
really important. So if I were a hypothetically speaking, right? If I was a woman, I worked a job for the past 15 years, right? I get
Yes.
laid off. I get laid off. I'm
Mhm.
collecting unemployment, right? Just for a second. So that's a bit of a cushion. But,
Very
I
efficient.
know deep down that I want to get back into the field. I want to work again. And I'm trying to figure out what's my next or first financial move. I have a lot of ideas about entrepreneurship, but I don't
Mhm.
want to step outside of that comfort zone. What
I think
would
it's
you?
funny, Mark, you mentioned that. I think now is the time for a person. Excuse the video issues, but now is
Yeah,
the time that to have you'll run at it. It's just something you want to do your whole life. You're on unemployment. You have what they call a safety net. That safety
yeah,
net is there. You have something that if you fail, you're still getting paid. Whereas a true entrepreneur, once that safety net is on, you're only getting paid when your product is moving. So this
mm,
is the time to test out kind of when you're going to decide if you should get into the market, or will the market accept you for your idea as is, or can you break through cooking, clean, whatever it is you do, can you break through the initial market that's already out there? And you can tell
mm,
if you're viable or not, because if it's a product like yours, you see that product moving is viable. How do you get into the situation where now you can move your product? I think that's a great time because you know you have skills already to get a job, but do you have skills already to get an opportunity? That's what you got to find out.
mm. So this brings me to something that I really talk to a lot of my clients about. Um,
Hmm.
and a lot of people in general, right, who stay in their career for years. Notice how I said that
Hmm.
that person was in their job for 15 years, right?
Yep.
So if they're in their career and they stay at the same job, they're loyal to this job, but there's not much upward mobility, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
but they remain loyal to that company, right?
Yep.
That's
It's
not
only one way.
promoting them, or
Yeah. It's only
you know,
one way.
they should be like, should they constantly be seeking better opportunities? I always say, in my own opinion, I always say one thing. What would you say to this person that's constantly
Well,
loyal in this?
I would say to the person, your days are limited because downsizing, internet, AI. You got to understand that companies are finding ways to make more money using less people. You have the time now to start your side business that you want to do, your side hustle, to see if that can grow or not. Because how I got started was I was forced to do somebody's taxes. I hadn't even finished my taxation class yet. And I was in there and I researched till finally I got them to where I wanted to get them, and got them more than I ever got. And they were like, yo. So they told friends who told friends who told friends. And quickly I grew. You can find out on your own if you can make money on the side. And then if you can make money on the side, you can tighten it up and make it a process and or product. Then you can find out if you have what's viable. And if you
Mm,
have a viable source, you can then learn to expand it, go talk to somebody, learn how to market it, and expand it to where now you're making more on your side job than you're on your full-time job. So a
mm,
lot of people take that comfort, and that's what it really is comfort. And they take that and they lean back and they dig into it. But that's not promise. There's been so many layoffs. I have a guy who works for a major company tell me all the time, I work extra hours whenever they ask because they've been having layoffs the last couple of years. So he knows that any day his number can be called. And that's what you have to be careful of when you get comfortable working with a job, because a job literally treats you as an equation, whereas you treat them as loyal subjects.
mm. So give me an example of a side business.
You can do anything from cooking, you can do internet, you can do so you can consult. Depends on what you do. If you give me an example of business, I'll tell you what a good side business would be. Because if you look now, you can look and you can do most things. How about web design? You can do web design on the side and find clients that way. Go underprice the market by a little bit just to see if you're viable, and make a few on your own. AI will
Mm,
almost do the work for you. All right. And so you're going to
yeah.
get somebody who's a little older. Your crowd, your target market is probably going to be 40 plus because they don't know how to do the AI and they don't want to pay for that. But you can go in there tell AI what is needed, have it made in about 20 to 30 minutes, and then give it to the client for approval.
Mm, gotcha. So you're talking about like for a woman, they can do something like a VA or like a virtual assistant for a
Correct.
company.
They can do it for several companies.
Yeah. You
So,
sent me
and
a
so
link. Yeah, you sent me a link before that
I sure
before,
did.
and I know that you do have some ideas for like a master class or something like that.
Yep,
But I think for
absolutely.
like I think more for like a woman or something like that. So
Mhm.
for females, there I've been seeing a lot of community based things like high
Correct.
ticket remote closers or fulfillers, right? People that
Mhm.
are in remote organizations or communities, sort of like this. If this makes sense, right?
Well, Mark,
So
also you got a person who's a connector. So you can put one group with another group and make money off of them getting together. So
yeah,
at that idea, you can have one group who you're familiar with trying to find the group who they're not familiar with and
mm,
create an introduction and get paid from that. There's so many different ways to get paid and create revenue from what you're doing. I mean, again, you need to find it out because you'll know best how you're better positioned. But realistically, man, there's so much money now, more so than it ever has been, that you
mm,
can go ahead and make side money. And then your side money is vacation money, your fun money, your travel money, whatever the case may be. But you'll
mm,
see there's a need for people who aren't charging as much, who are in the field, who don't have to be on site. So there's ways to make several dollars, whereas the person who is figuring out how to work another job at McDonald's and get another, their money is limited.
got it, got it. So anybody that's inside of here, I want to call out on somebody. I'm looking at somebody right now. Um, I want to know if any of you guys have if any ideas of an actual side hustle or any kind of business that you really thought, if you ever thought about doing. Because Pete, how many businesses have you helped establish? It's like a crazy
Oh
question.
my God, 3,000 incorporated. But as
Yeah.
far as established, I mean, you got some people who just already know what they want. They get in there going. You have some people that have to take baby steps. What's
Yeah.
next? Because let me tell you, in the world of entrepreneurship, not knowing is not enough. You are
Mm,
not forgiven for not knowing. You have to know what's going on. So I constantly tell people, whatever you're good at, stick to that. But then
yeah.
go to professionals and other people who, if you're not good at it, because not filing a annual tax report can cause your business to be suspended, which makes you pay more money, which is a
Mm,
simple thing to do, but you're getting it like, oh, that's part of my taxes. It's not part of your taxes. So,
mm,
again, you should get somebody who knows what they're doing, who can help you navigate through that. But at the end of the day, man, a great conversation, a good conversation with somebody can show you where the pitfalls are that you didn't even see because you haven't been on that side of the bridge before.
gotcha. So we're gonna move on to savings, right? So
Mhm.
let's say if we have a couple
Mhm.
or one of my single supreme warriors, right?
All right.
Let's say if the couple is able to save $1,100 per month
Nice.
consistently, or if the woman is able to save maybe $460 per month, right? Consistently, what
Mhm.
should that money actually be doing for them instead of just
Well,
sitting inside of a bank?
you can invest that money into a stock market, which is called passive, right? You can do a passive growth, which gets into stocks that normally are strong stocks that grow. You'll get about 10%, 10 11% return, which isn't bad, especially on the one you said is about 13,000 a year. It's about 1,300. You can do an active investment, which means you give the money to another person who has a business idea and you get a piece of your return on that. Or you can actively start it on your own. You
Mm,
can take that money, and most people don't really see it that way. We all look at money differently, but some people can make 6x on their money and 7x on the money by doing it themselves. Um, Sales are one thing. I think you do a great job of looking at your analytics between who you actually hire, how long they stay as a client, how much you work for them, and all that. It's great analytics because you have to know that nature and that tightness of numbers to understand
yeah.
if you're really winning or you're losing. Because to have that money sit in the bank is the worst investment ever.
Yes.
You can get 3%, 4% off a bond if you
Mm,
just leave it in the bond market. But if you put it in the market when it's a down market, which down markets make more millionaires than up markets, When the money is going, market is going down, the money is going to come back up. It's cyclical. So that's the time to invest in your money. So if you put your money in when the market is down due to something beyond control of the market itself, that's the time you'll make 3 and 4 times your money. You could make 3 and 4 times your money. You got to get out. That's what day trading does, right? You sit there in front of the computer all day. You watch the market. You know when you're going to get in, when you're going to get out. But you can take that money and you can figure out, you know what? If I buy 12 lemonades at $2, I can sell 12 lemonades at $7. How much did you just make there? You 3x your money. Now you take the dollar to buy more lemonade and you do it all over again. It's an old story that can be done over and over again. So yeah, saving money is great, but part of that money should be working for you. It should be making money on top of that, not just sitting there. There's insurance to have at the IUL. You can actually make money as you're doing it. So there's so many different things you can do, but it depends on how you want to make it passively or actively.
Yeah, yeah. I believe in IUL. I think that's the first thing that a person should be established with, IUL. Could you explain what
Yeah.
IUL is for them?
Sure. It stands for Index Universal Life. And what that is that's an insurance policy who normally people with more wealth get than just term policy. Term policy only pays you if you have critical cancer or you're going to die, right? That's death insurance. It's not life insurance. Whereas you can borrow against an IUL for the money you get. IUL on typically get about 11% return. The great thing about an IUL is, just like we were talking about the day trading, markets go up and down. Well, the IUL is based off of the market. However, it only goes down to 0.75. It doesn't go below that. So it has a floor to it, which is great because I tell the example all the time. If you have $100 and you lost 20%, you have $80.
Yeah.
To get to 100, 20% won't make it back. It'll make it $96.
Wow.
So literally losing money hurts you in so many different ways. Whereas if you don't lose any money, but only it bottoms out above zero, and then it gets all the gains and all the rise of the market. So that's why it's so powerful, because not only do you create wealth, but it's in a position where it's not taxed. And people really don't understand that not getting a K1 or not getting a dividend statement that you have to pay tax on that money is great. And a couple companies actually give you dividends on top of the money you're making already. So you're talking about 4% on top of what you're worth. Now, this is not a 2-month play. This is a longer play for that. But if you think about it, if they're getting, let's say 10% mark, well, then every 10 years, your money doubles.
Yeah.
So, that's pretty strong. If you think about it, you have 100,000 saved up in 7 years, you're going to have 2,000. In 7 more years, you're going to have 400,000. In 7 more years, I'll have 800,000. In 7 more years, I have 1.6 million. All started from 100,000 deposit and never, ever touched. So it's a good long-term play. It's not a good, I'm going to do it right now for 6-month play. Now, if you have a lump sum of money that's not doing anything for you, it's great because you can borrow against it should you need it. So now you can start your business and still have your money growing, not maybe at 10 or 11%, but maybe you're growing at 7%. So money is in there growing, but you are using that money actively to do your side hustle, which can cause you more money, which you can put back in should you desire. So that's what makes an IUL so sexy.
Right. Yeah, IOLs definitely have always been appealing. Not sure how what your status is with that. I know, everybody has different job and companies and people that, come to your job and they talk to you about those things. But, it's important to have like a aggressive approach to your money and also to your savings, because as money goes into your bank account, you are losing money every day. I don't think people really understand what that means when we explain that. Could you explain how their money is being lost?
Absolutely. So when you're in the bank account, you might be getting 1 to 2%. If anyone has gone food shopping in the last couple of weeks, they can understand 1 or 2% of growth is negative because you're paying 2 times higher. So if you're paying even 10% more in your food growth, you're negative 8%. You're losing money from just sitting there because the value of that dollar is now lesser than it was when you first put it in there. So you're not keeping up with even the value of today's money. So actually, you need to make sure that money is working for you. Yeah, it's not going anywhere, but it's not. It's now, instead of worth $100, it's worth $97 or $96 or $95, depending on the price of what you're buying. So that's important because you've lost buying value and buy retail value. You lost food value. You lost everything because your money is not keeping up with the rate of inflation.
Mm, gotcha. Great way of breaking that down. So, how much cash should someone realistically keep liquid before really redirecting that money into a
Some of
appreciating
the vehicle, yeah, some of the vehicle. Now real estate is one of the greatest investments of all, but I would say where you should put your money about 2 to 3 months of your savings of what your expenses are, right?
Okay.
Like so say your job cuts you, they give you 2 weeks payment. You have 3 months that you can live with no problems before you understand what needs to be done, either new job or new business. That's what I would say. People tell you 6 months, but I'm gonna tell you right now, if you're able to get in other investments, you're better off. Real estate is a great investment, Mark. One of the things about real estate is, you have a mortgage and you have taxes. Most of the time, you have a renter who pays both, right? And they pay them both and leaves a little bit more on the edge. All the while, there might not be a lot of cash flow, like maybe $400 or $500 a month, maybe $300 a month. However, your house should be appreciating in value. So you might have bought it for 100,000, but now it's worth 130,000. A year later, it's worth 140,000, 150,000. And this is what we're
Right.
talking about, keeping up with the market. So a lot of people will qualify for mortgages, and most people don't understand for multi-units, you get a portion of what you would charge in rent as credit towards what you would pay for the property, because that is what is going to be paid. So don't think you don't have enough money for it. How they're going to get to that number is very different than how much do you make. It's how much will the property bring in, how much will it create in its own, and how much value does it have.
What about people like, Grant Cardone that says you shouldn't really focus on buying a house, you should focus on rent because it's cheaper or more cost effective for, you to put all your
Mhm.
chips to real estate versus
So
owning an actual home.
yeah, the only problem about that, give you a perfect example. I've been in my house for 7 years. Only thing that's going up is really property taxes, and property taxes maybe have gone up maybe $1,000 over the years. Now, yes, you can get a warranty for your appliances and things that need to be break. But as an apartment, I'm looking for an apartment for a friend now. He can't find a decent apartment for under 2,800. He can't
Mm,
do it. So they know once the renter leaves, the price of rent goes up. Right now, granted, I'm not going to tell you that you'll never have to put money into a house. Of course you will, but you got to put money into an apartment too, to a degree, right? You still have to do the repairs and the maintenance, but if you do it right, certain repairs are covered by warranty, certain repairs are not. Electrical additions are covered by warranty. At the end of the day, your apartment is not making money for you.
right.
Like, I've doubled the value of my house currently in 8 years. So I made hundreds of thousands of dollars in house differences versus where it is if I had an apartment, it'd still be worth, if not, I'm not paying more, it's not worth anything more for me because I don't own it.
Mm,
So,
gotcha. Wow. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, should like a person's monthly savings be split between like emergency funds, investing, and
I would.
business building if they would, or focus on one real primary growth vehicle, like
Yeah, I would.
credit
I
card?
would definitely do that. Credit card debt. Phew, credit card debt's crazy now. With this new law in place, you can have credit card debt beyond the normal amount. So whatever they can get from you, they can get. There used to be a cap on, it's called usury, about how
Yeah.
much you could bill a certain person that's gone now. So basically, whatever you can agree upon, that's what they're going to get for credit card debt. So when I say make sure your credit card debt is taken care of first, it eats your, just like the money in the bank, it eats your profits dollar for dollar quickly.
Mm,
So my thing is you should pay your credit card as much as you can. Try not to buy what you can't buy, pay it back in more than 30 days, but you don't want to pay it back on the due date. Pay it on the date of a period, day before it closes. If you
yeah.
look at your closing date, it's a date, it's different than your payment date. Take that date and make sure you pay it inside of that. So when it reports to a credit bureau, it literally says zero or a lower number.
Mm,
Okay,
gotcha.
that's what.
Got
Mm-hmm.
interesting. So, if someone has a strong savings like discipline, but
Mm-hmm.
no appreciating assets, are they building wealth or are they just building security?
They're building part-time security, right? Because part-time security means they'll have money for a part-time emergency, but they won't have much money for much else. Hell, if you build a house, say you buy a house and you're in a house, and a year later you decide to sell it, you might make 30,000 from the sale of the home. You're not going to make 30,000 just saving money. It's just going to be almost impossible. So I
Mm,
mean, at the same time, should you save money? Absolutely. But should you put money to the side? Yes, you should put money to the side in case of an emergency. You by yourself, got nobody to help you. You can take care of your own issues, but that money's got to work for you too. You got to have some money that's working for you passively, that is actually making money for you. A lot of people do high yield savings. They drop drastically. It used to be 5 to 6%, but they dropped down to I think 3%. Um, so basically, you have to lock your money in for up to a year, 18 months, 2 years, and they give you a locked in rate. That rate
mm,
is changing because the economy is going up. So therefore, it's not making as much money as it once did.
mm. So moving on, because we are a fitness company, and
Yep.
I've always explained to clients the importance of their long-term health. We have
Mm-hmm.
health span and also lifespan. Your health span is basically from 0 to, let's say, 70, but your lifespan you can die at 90, but your health span can stop at 70, meaning you are dependent physically on someone else to basically take care of you. So your health
Yep.
span can be basically pushed out. So right now I want to know, right, how much should a person spend on their health, right?
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, we talk about savings, we talk about many different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
A person will sacrifice their health. A person will just stop working
Yeah.
out. They'll just put all the caution to the wind and don't think about the long term, right?
You know, Mark, the
So,
funny part about that question, I'm glad you asked that. So, a long time ago, when I read in a book, they were saying, really, health is the most important thing, right? And
yeah,
the reason why you told somebody, I'll give you $10 million, but you can never walk again. And they're like, no,
yeah,
thank you. Or you're going to be bedridden for the rest of your life. They say, no, thank you. Right. But I
right.
just gave you $2 million. You're going to be financially secure. I don't want that because that's not the quality of life I want. I think
Mm,
the health and the workouts kind of ties into that because what you're doing is extending your lifetime and you're extending it to a place where you have quality of life, not just quantity of life. 80 years old and you're bedridden is not the same as 80 years old and you're at the local dances and doing whatever you want to do. There's a difference in that. And once you understand that money is great, but money means nothing without the rest of the things, it doesn't really matter. So at the end of the day, health is wealth. Health is definitely what you have to do to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And I think we're getting more and more conscious of what needs to be taken care of, everything. So,
mm. Thanks. So when it comes to, for me, we're like diving right now, Pete, into corporate health and wellness, and
mhm.
our goal is basically to start getting companies to work with us so that we can help their actual employees, and then we can actually get the company to pay for their
It does
their
more than help employees.
recurring.
They've done studies, Mark, that where you're taking less personal time for sicknesses because your
Yeah,
body's in better shape, right? And you paying people regardless of whether they work or not. How about they work? If they're
yeah,
working, they're being productive. There's more money. So really, it's cyclical when the companies are covering the cost of that. It comes back to them in productivity because
mhm,
somebody's out because their back is out. Okay, well they didn't do anything. They got a beer belly, and now their back is out because your core is strengthened by your back. So your back, is tightened up by your core. So what happens is when you don't take care of yourself, you're more susceptible to injuries. You're more susceptible to things happening, which now the boss has to pay. We pay insurance. For those who don't know, we pay workman's comp insurance. We do all kinds of things that we're not able to pay for. They cost a lot of money, and they renew based on how much you used it. So if you had 7, 8 people claim workman's comp, then next year your workman's comp is higher. If you had nobody claim that, then next year your workman's comp is lower or the same. So at least at the minimum, we save money from corporations by the sense of, do corporations need to have their information? Yes or no? Do they need to have 100% employee participation so they can maximize their profit? And trust and believe, no one's hiring you to because they need friends. They're hiring you because they want money and you to do a job, and that job makes them money. It has to be an equation of all that the corporation is winning in the end.
there we go. Yeah, it's a lot when it comes to that, and I always encourage folks to talk to their HR. And many of them do have companies, and they do have companies, fitness companies that kind of come in, but they do like little, and most people don't pay attention, or they're just not interested in there. So I always try to figure out what would I be able to do. You know what I'm saying? How would I be able to be of assistance with it? But I
Well, I'm gonna
just
tell you where you step in, Mark. You step in because you challenge people, right?
yeah,
You challenge them to get out of their comfort zone. So outside, I mean, you got to sit. You come home, you're tired from work. You're sitting down. You eat your dinner. You watch TV with your wife, or you do something, and then you go to bed. You
yeah,
give them a charge, and actually, even if you think about a middle management, for instance, nobody's holding them accountable. No one's accountable. And one thing that you do is, the check-ins with you, weigh-ins, so you know accountability. So we can talk about BMI, how much body fat you lost. That is accountability at some level that most places don't really have that level of accountability. You go to the gym, you sweat next to the guy next to you, and you go home. But what are you eating?
yeah.
What are you doing? What, like, is that the right exercise for your body type? I think you got to do a great job of making sure that what needs to happen happens, and a person sees the progress based on what you deem their body types to be. That's
Yeah.
really, I'm really proud of you guys for that way you handle that situation.
Let me ask you, because I know that most employees they get a certain type of benefit where they can put like for health
Mm-hmm.
medication and certain
Mm-hmm.
doctor visits and stuff. Does that apply to what we do as far as fitness?
So it can if
Like
you can if you can,
HSA or
especially if you get a doctor that says you need to do more physical fitness, which 90% of people need to do more physical fitness. There's a thing
yeah,
called HSA, which is a flex spending account. If the doctor tells you that you need to make sure that you're exercising 3 days a week in order to keep your blood pressure down, this right, that right, this right, your cholesterol down, your high blood, then you can find a place that will do that for you and write that off. So what happens is you get that back in your HSA payment. So HSA, the only thing about HSA you have to know up front about the cost of what you're about to spend. Any money that's left in the HSA, however, it's tax deductible, is gone. So you get it back, like say, so for instance, you get $3,000 in HSA. Well, then you can do a class for Mark maybe twice a week and see how far that 3,000 gets to get you. At that point, it's tax deductible. So therefore, if you make 100,000, you're only paying taxes on 97,000. Your HSA can go as high as I believe 5 or 6,000 now, but if you're over 50, they can do a little bit more. So the good thing is they can put that money away, it goes away pre-tax out of their paycheck even before they actually use it. So now you can get money back on that automatically, and it's tax deductible. So
So just so
it's
I
less tax
understand,
money.
wait. So just so I understand, they can go to their doctor and they can say, "Hey, BMI, I'm in the obese category,
Hmm.
morbid obese category.
Correct.
So write me a letter of medical necessity for training
Correct.
and write me an exercise prescription, right?
Correct.
Then they
Hmm.
can use that for their HSA
Correct.
legally,
Correct.
and
Correct.
then
The
they can write
HSA
that off.
is even allows you to over the counter drugs, right? Which is great. However, if you get a doctor's note for any kind of medicine, it's deductible. So if the doctor's telling you you need to exercise 3 days a week in order to lower your cholesterol load, to lower your whatever level, exercise, and you are part of that. Absolutely. It's tax deductible. So you're paying less taxes on it. You're doing better for your body, and you're getting the money back from your 401k, your HSA plan. So that's a
Mm.
win-win-win.
So any kind of disease we're talking about diabetes,
Yep.
hyperthyroidism, things
Yep.
that high blood pressure, high
Correct.
cholesterol, muscular issues, blood
Hmm.
issues, anything that basically involves you exercising. Your doctor can write you a letter of medical necessity, right? And they
Yep.
can write an exercise prescription. And then
Yep.
what you're saying is that they can then bring that to their HR to hire
No,
the
no. What happens? Their HSA automatically includes that. They just need to tell HSA how much they want to put in it each year. So HSA can do as much as your flex spending account can do as much as 5,000 pre-tax, right? 5 or 6,000. I can't remember the number, but they can do as much as they want pre-tax. As long as they have a letter, they don't have to go to HR or anybody. They'll have documentation that says my doctor says I have to do this. I need to be reimbursed. They reimburse you for co-pays. They reimburse you for everything. So
So this
therefore, you're
is
now
basically
reimbursed.
so this is basically tax deductible. This is
It
literally
is.
tax deductible in a way.
It
So
is.
basically, instead of them paying it out of their pocket, like most of our clients are doing, they can
Hmm.
actually then go to their HSA. Do they go through that through HR? How do they go through HSA? I
No,
don't
so
know.
when most of your HSAs, they'll ask you before the year starts how much you want to put in your account. So basically, how much
Mm,
do you want to take a check? And you'll say, well,
yeah,
I want the max 5,000. 5,000 knows will get you X amount of sessions with you, for instance. That payment comes right off of their credit card. They just say now, it used to be a long time ago that you had to write them a bill and they had to turn the bill in, then the bill they get paid back. Now that's right off a credit card. So as long as you're an approved vendor, which 9 out of 10, if you have something that the doctor prescribed, you're approved. There's no problem.
absolutely. Yeah, we have that. Yeah, we have that. That makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, but that listen, good stuff. So, next question, right? So when we talk about short-term and long-term disability coverage in
Mm-hmm.
a lot of different cases, right? My goal is basically to get people off of that long-term disability, right? But let's
Mm-hmm.
say if a person is dealing with any type of, disability, or they're working on trying to get better, how do we work on their taxes and basically getting them to write this off as well, versus because insurance is really funny with
It
premiums
is
and
fun.
stuff. And they don't really,
It's fun.
they consider certain gyms as cosmetic. We're not a cosmetic. We're more of weight loss.
Correct.
So how do
Correct.
we distinguish between
You
weight
gotta
loss
understand
and cosmetic?
long term care is often built on insurance money, right?
Yeah.
And short term care is usually money that's about 6 to 8 weeks to get back. It can be up to 3 months, but long term care is when you're on it for a while. So anything you do towards to fix that goes to your 7.5% deductible. Now, what that means is if you make $100,000, the first 7,500 is tax is free. Then after every dollar after that is tax deductible on your taxes. Schedule A. So what I'm saying is, $100,000. I'll give you that example because it's easy. So half of that, 50,000, and so on and so forth. You have to understand that if you can prove that you're paying out of pocket, you then get the deduction for that, especially if
Mm,
it's doctor ordered, like it's part of your therapy, right? Therapy is deductible. So again, as long as you get a doctor's note, you can deduct all the costs of staying in shape, which is making sure you have to work to get off of long-term care. Because trust me, trust and believe, the insurance company wants you off of that too. They want to get rid of it as well,
yeah,
right?
and that's another thing too. When it comes to lowering premiums, what they do for
Mm-hmm.
corporations,
Mm-hmm.
they actually lower their premiums. And a lot of companies, if they have over 550 to 500
It's
employees,
50.
they can
You have to
save
have insurance.
anywhere from 50 to $500,000 a year by just adding on us into their actual program, just a
Mm-hmm.
fitness wellness program. And many of them just do the bare bones minimum. You know what I'm saying? They really don't care. They just want that extra premium that's lost. But I just feel like it's not fair because we put so much into like the work. We're doing accountability calls. We are monitoring. We are helping with accountability with off. You know what I'm saying? Like phone calls, and I'm on the phone. So we can definitely help many different corporations with
Mm-hmm.
what it is that they're doing, but many of them are trying to, wiggle and cut corners because that's
Yeah,
the
because you got to think about long-term care is insurance. It has not actually payments coming out of the corporation. They pay that insurance. You triggered enough to get that. So now the insurance is counting how many times did somebody hit that long-term care insurance. So therefore, okay, next time around you're gonna have to pay a little more because you got us this time. But next time I'm gonna get you. So
yeah,
again, you're helping them save money because the shorter they're on long-term care, the better they are. And it's not enough money. So I want to say it's like 66% of the money that you normally make. So it's not like and we all know everything is tight as it is. So
right.
66% of what you're getting is going to make it even tighter.
Right. All right. So moving on to investments in properties, right? So if someone, let's say they had like $3,000, right, or
Mhm.
more liquid right now, and they have a goal of stacking $12,000 within the next
Yep.
year, or I don't know, 100,000, right, or
Mhm.
50,000, right? Let's just be realistic.
Let's talk
What
50,000. Let's talk about that.
what should that strategy be?
Let me tell you, there's a thing called a REIT. I'm not sure if anybody knows about this. It's called a real estate investment trust, REIT, REIT. REITs are
REIT.
great because if you look at any major city and you see a major skyscraper or a big building, that is not somebody's money has gone into that. That is too expensive for one person to build. They build a REIT. It's a Class A REIT. Make sure you get Class A because Class B and C are strip malls and things that are going out of business currently, right? So a Class A REIT would be like the Penn Building at downtown, the 4200, 1700 downtown. You look at those buildings in Philadelphia, you're like, oh wow, I wonder who thought about that. They raise money by taking investments and now building up that area, but they're also charging back rent for those people that are
Mhm.
there. I was at a building that was quite large. We had half the floor. Our rent was $35,000. So you got to think how much money they're giving you back in investment, a guaranteed investment on your money, and within a year or two, depends on the length of your REIT, you get all your money back to either reinvest it to another REIT or take it and keep it. So you're getting a percentage of your money every single month, and then you're getting your money back at the end of the year. Do not go to class level B and C. It has to be an A level REIT. The only thing is they have minimums. They do have minimums. They understand that this is an investment and it's 25,000 buy it. That will make your money. You can make up to 20%, 20, 30% on your money because it's back behind rents, which are you get a piece of depreciation on your K1, which is for your taxes that have depreciation of the building. So you're literally sharing in the depreciation that you don't pay for. Yet someone else is using it, and it makes you your return on investment so much higher.
Mm. So when does holding too much liquidity money become dead money?
When the inflation rate beats the current investment rate. So if your investment is getting you back 4% and inflation is 6%, every month you're losing 2%. Every month you're losing money. So you want to make sure that your investments. I mean, again, it's good to have mattress money. Something happens, emergency, we can get grandma to the hospital, we can fix the car, or whatever the problem is. But once you're set up to cover 2 to 3 months of your expenses, that money has to work for you. People, it's funny because I see people ready. I'm ready for retirement, and I'm gonna retire early at 50, and I'm like, that's great. So whatever you have saved has to grow enough to last you for the next 30 to 40 years.
Hmm.
30 or 40
Got
years ago, how much was bread, Mark? 30 or 40 years ago.
uh 34 years ago was probably about $1, 75
Yeah,
cents. One or
exactly. But
yeah.
now is it? What is it now? So it's like you're thinking of right now, but it never stays now. So if you don't keep up with inflation, your money is slowly losing money, and you'll be back to work as a welcome to Walmart. How may I help you? Before you know it,
So
right?
if someone has steady income and they're consistent saving, should they
Hmm.
use leverage to accelerate wealth
They
building or
should.
should they
They
stay
should.
conservative?
They should stay. They should leverage that on the conservative. So you want to make sure that your investment, no matter what it is, above what's going on in the world. So the inflation rate, whatever the inflation rate, your investment has to beat that out, or you're losing money, or it's not gaining money, right? Because
Mm,
if you put $8 in there and you're like, I'm good with $8, take it out in 2 months and now it's $10, but yet the cost of fries is $10. It was $8 at the same time. You didn't make any money.
right.
You didn't make any money. It just it's that status quo. So you need to make sure that you understand inflation and that cost of inflation and what that's costing you, A, but are you beating the cost of inflation, B? Because if you're not beating the cost of inflation, you're losing money. Point
Wow.
blank.
Wow. That's fire. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely.
We're gonna wrap it up soon because we got our stretch class next. But did anybody have any questions, real quick, for our accountant and our special guest Pete that came on? Did anybody have any tax questions or anything like that?